Marko here from Fair Realty, Victoria, BC. Recently, I became an Airbnb superhost, and I kind of fell into this superhost status. Let me explain. So I was of the opinion for many years that being an Airbnb host was not a very attractive business model. At one point, I had a one-bedroom condo unit at the Era building. It's downtown Victoria on Yates Street. This building had short-term rental zoning. At one point, I think about approximately 30 owners were using their units for short-term rental operations. I always had that unit long-term tenanted, and this was my logic. If I have a long-term tenant in that one bedroom for $2,000 a month, that is $67 a night, 365 days a year. Versus if I'm trying to run a one-bedroom Airbnb operation, I'm not going to have full occupancy 365 days a night. You got cleaning costs in between guests. You have Airbnb or other platform costs. You have more wear and tear in the unit. I always thought it was not a great business model. And what I found is a lot of people operating these short-term rental operations were doing their own cleaning, their own management, and that's how they were making the numbers work. But if you applied some sort of reasonable number to your time, like $25 an hour, the business model kind of fell apart. So I was never a fan of wanting to be an Airbnb host. But then 3 years ago, you could see all these restrictions coming. You know, Airbnb short-term rentals got a lot of the blame as a factor in our housing crisis. And many things have been introduced. You know, first of all, the city of Victoria increased the licensing fee from $1,000 to $2,500 a year. Then the province essentially banned short-term rentals unless it's your principal residence. And the province introduced a registration system. You can't be on Airbnb unless you're registered. And I'm fully registered and legal with the province. And I'm not the most book smart person. I failed out of calculus in Vic High, even though my close friend, who I'm still very close with, Jeff, tried to help me. Then I failed out of organic chem in UVic, but I do have pretty common sense. And what I saw in all of this was Victoria is going to continue to be an attractive place for people to come visit. Essentially, all Airbnbs are going to be banned. Not everyone's going to want to be in a hotel, and hotels are going to raise their prices. So I opened an Airbnb account for my principal residence. First year, 2023, I made $8,000. Last year, I made $25,000. This year, I'll make $35,000. I had a stay. I think it was a 32-day stay this past summer for $410 a night. Rates have been constantly going up. I have a booking in 2026 for 33 nights at quite a large number. So exactly what I kind of assumed would happen has happened. If you go into my area of Vic West, I'm really the only Airbnb that's set up, and obviously rates are going to go up when there's no supply, but there's still demand. I've had people here on various contracts. I've had snowbirds during the winter, and I've had really good guests. I do minimum 30-day rentals because my strata limits it to 30 days. And because it's my principal residence, I meet all the bylaws in terms of municipal, provincial, etc. So I do have a bit of a unicorn, but you know, the $35,000 I made this year, that pays my strata fees, that pays my property taxes, and pays a good chunk of my mortgage. So a question a lot of you are going to have is, where do I stay during these stays? Well, if I'm doing 3 stays or 4 stays a year for 30 days, I'll package one with a vacation, one I'll package with my parents being away and I'll stay at their house, one I'll stay in a friend's basement. Obviously, this isn't going to work for everyone, but it works well for me. The point of my video was, you know, the legislation the province brought in, I was not a fan of it. I made a YouTube video about it 2 years ago. I think it was an attack on property rights, specifically for those people that own units in buildings that allowed short-term rentals, taking away a right they previously had. So even though I wasn't a fan of the legislation, and previously I was of the opinion that it wasn't a very attractive business model, I kind of saw what was going to unfold if you dampen the supply or cut off the supply, but the demand remains the same. All of a sudden, something that wasn't very attractive before becomes a lot more attractive. If you're getting $410 a night for a $33 stay, that's over $12,000. That's quite a bit of money. And you don't have the work of, you know, guests staying 2 nights or 3 nights. So that is how I became Airbnb Superhost. I don't have that many stays, but I think Airbnb calculates the Superhost status based on nights, and I do have quite a few nights every year. So yeah, that is my journey on randomly falling into Superhost status. I saw it pop up on my account the other day. It's not something I was aiming for whatsoever. And as I said, for many years, I was of the opinion that it's not a very attractive business model.